All right, so chapter 7, we're going to break it up into two parts. So 7.1 is adding and subtracting polynomials. Another way of looking at it is combine like terms, which I think you've heard before. So before we get to that, within this section, there's another thing called the degree. So the degree has to do with exponents. So if I had 5x squared, the degree is 2, because there are two x's in the problem. X squared means x times x, so there's 2 of them. If I had 7a, their degree is 1 because there's 1a, or to the first power. If I had negative 3x squared y to the third, the degree is 5. 2 x's, 3 y's. Okay, so it's adding up the exponents. 2 plus 3 is 5. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what this 5, 7, negative 3, like those numbers in the front. It's really just counting how many variables do I have. And it's okay to have x's and y's and kind of combine them together. If you just had 4, well, then the degree is 0. There's no variables. Okay, so degree of, and this is one term. There's one like thing. So we're going to kind of split it up now and go into something else. So if I had x to the third plus 4y squared. Okay, so this plus sign changes things. So we look at each thing separately. The degree of that is 3. Oh, I should have made that an x, not a y. It technically wouldn't have mattered. It doesn't change the answer, but the degree of that one is 2. Biggest one wins. So the degree of the whole thing is 3. Okay, so again, it doesn't matter what numbers are in the front. We just look at the exponents. So that one, the degree is 5. That one, the degree is 8. That one, the degree is 3. Biggest one wins, the degree is 8. Okay, so when it's one term, add the exponents together. When it's more than one term, and we're going to talk about that word term in a minute, when you see these plus or minus signs, I happen to use all plus ones, but it separates them. They're no longer one thing. Okay, and then you need to kind of, again, whichever one is the biggest, that's the degree of the whole thing. A degree like this first group where there's just one thing, then you'll have a section of problems. Okay, if it has more than one thing, you do each one separate. Biggest one wins. All right. So then we also have what's called standard form. Highest exponent to lowest. Okay. So an example of standard form could be like 8x to the third plus 2x squared minus 4x plus 10. Okay, so the third is the highest exponent, then it goes 2, then it goes to 1, then it goes to nothing, just a number at the end. It's called a constant. Okay, and it doesn't have to have all of them. So you could have like 5x to the fourth power minus 3x squared plus 4. You know, it can skip. This doesn't have to go 3, 2, 1 number, as long as the highest one is first, and then the next highest one is second, and the next highest one is and so on. Number always at the end. So whenever constant, that's always 10, that's always 4. The other ones would change because if x was 2, well then it changes. If x was 5, then it changes. If x is negative 2, then it changes. But that's still 4 and that's still 10. It's constant, doesn't change. Okay, so standard form, highest exponent to lowest. All right. Naming polynomials. So polynomials is just a general term. Okay. 8x squared is a polynomial. Okay, but it's also a monomial because it has one term. Okay, then if we had 6x plus 5, that's a polynomial, but it's also a binomial because it has two terms. Okay, terms are separated by an addition or subtraction sign. So 6x is a term, 5 is a term, separated by the plus sign. Okay, 4x squared minus 5x plus 8. That's a polynomial, but it's also a trinomial because it has three terms. Okay, so again, it doesn't matter if it's a plus or a minus. 4x squared is a term, 5x is a term, 8 is a term. And we would technically say minus 5x, but that plus and minus separates them into terms. Okay, and all of these are in standard form. The highest exponent comes first, the next highest comes next, the number's at the end. It doesn't have to have a number at the end, just if there's a number, then oftentimes it does, that goes at the end. Okay, so you're going to have the first few questions, find the degree of the monomial. So it'll be that say, write the polynomial in standard form. It says identify the degree, so we talked about that. The leading coefficient, I don't care about that part of it. Technically, like the leading coefficient on like these polynomials is 8, 6, and 4. Whatever the number is at the very beginning, that's the leading coefficient. Then classify the polynomial based on the number of terms. That's important. Okay, monomial, binomial, trinomial. Anything more terms than 3 is just a polynomial. Why doesn't that one want to erase? Oh well. 4 or more, we just say it's a polynomial. Okay. All right, now let's get into the adding and subtracting. So it's really pretty straightforward. We just got to be careful of of our positive and negative numbers. Okay? All right, on addition problems, I want you to rewrite the problem with no parentheses. And I wrote plus right here because this 2 is positive. If there was a negative sign inside of the parentheses, I would write minus 2x. Okay? I want you to rewrite the problem without the parentheses. Okay? And then now we're going to combine like terms. Which ones have an x? That's 5x's, that's 2x's, now I have 7x's. Then I'm going to combine, the next thing, well, there's just numbers. Positive 4 and negative 6 is negative 2. Okay, and that's it. All right, if we had rewrite it without parentheses. And then combine like terms in order. Highest exponent first, then the next highest, then the next highest, and so on. Okay, so x squared is the highest exponent. Okay, I have 3x squareds here. I have 1x squared there. So I have 4x squareds altogether. When you add and subtract, the exponent will not change. Okay, do not change the exponents. You're just adding or subtracting the numbers that are in front of them. So the next thing I have is x's. Positive 4, negative 5 is negative 1x. So if you put a 1 right there, that's fine. I wouldn't mark it off. You will never see the book do that. But if you put a 1 there, I'm okay. Then the numbers. Negative 6 and positive 10. Positive 4. And we're good. Okay. Let's look at one more and then we'll do some subtraction, which really is not all that different. All right, so again, it's an adding problem. Just rewrite without the parentheses. Make the 3 a little bit nicer. So here's a negative 5, so that's I'm going to put minus 5x squared plus 7x plus 2x to the third. Okay, so it doesn't matter that that plus sign in the middle went away. It's fine. Okay, just you don't want to write the plus when you get rid of the parentheses. Okay, so that negative 5 we still write is negative there. Okay, combine like terms in order. Third power is the highest exponent that I have. So that's positive 4 and positive 2. That's just 4 plus 2 is 6. X to the third. Do not change the exponents. Okay, then I would look for x squared. Okay, I have 1 right there, and that's it. So there's nothing to combine with that one. Okay, then I'd go see, are there x's? And if there weren't any x's, then I'd keep going. Like, so some of them you might not have each thing. So 3x and 7x that's just 3 plus 7. It's 10. And then negative 8. So I don't know if the colors are messing any of you up, but there's my answer. Okay, so yes, it matters that the answer is in order. Okay, if it's in the wrong order, it's not correct. It's mostly correct, it's just not all the way correct. So be careful of that. All right, so let's go to subtraction. Not a whole lot different. There's one thing at the beginning that is important. Okay, so with adding, we just rewrite it and get rid of the parentheses. With subtracting, we have to distribute this minus sign first. And really, you're just changing the signs. So on the first part, nothing happens. On the second part, a negative with a positive makes negative 2x squared. A negative and a positive is negative 7x. A negative and a negative is positive 2. So you're just changing the signs. Positive 2, negative 2, positive 7, negative 7, negative 2, positive 2. Now it's the same problem. X squared, 6 minus 2, 4x squared. 4x, negative 7x, so 4 and negative 7 make a negative 3x. Negative 8 and positive 2, negative 6. Okay, so don't just distribute that minus sign, basically change the signs on the second one, and then everything else is the exact same way. Okay? So don't treat it any different after you do that. Combine your terms together. But you must distribute, otherwise you're going to deal with positive 7 instead of negative 7, and then you're going to get it wrong no matter what. Instead of negative 2, if you put negative 2 instead of positive 2, it's wrong no matter what. Okay, so be careful with that. Just distribute it and then combine. And many times the problems are already in order, like this, x squared, x number, or x squared and then just a number. Okay, but there are going to be a few that the order will be slightly different. Put the highest exponent first. Okay, it matters. So just be careful of that, because on a test or a quiz, if you don't put it in the right order, you're going to miss some points, and that would be silly because, the rest of it you did right, you should get the points. So put them in order. All right, so have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you tomorrow.